Here we go. Athletes Forum podcast. We're about to recap week 10 in college football. There's some fraudulent teams out there heading down the stretch. And we're going to talk about the three teams that won the weekend.
We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just parking now. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm walking out. Yeah.
Here we go. Welcome back to the Athletes Forum podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to the locker room. Thank you all, for coming back. We're going to dive right into it. We're going to recap week 10 this past weekend in college football. There's some fraudulent teams out there we need to talk about and throw a couple names out there, and we will do that. And we're going to talk about three teams that won the weekend, and we'll get your thoughts. Locker room, you know how this works. Drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Otherwise, like, subscribe, share with a friend. This is a community. Let's keep this thing going. So first game I want to dive into obviously was the big one in Happy Valley. Ohio State versus Penn State. This game is probably the worst game James Franklin has to prepare for every year since being at Penn State. I'm sure whenever the schedule comes out, he dreads the week that he has to play Ohio State because he has a hard time beating them. He has a hard time beating Ohio State every single time. New coordinator, same results. Experienced quarterback, same results. This junior class, when they were freshmen, were supposed to be the class to change things, beat Ohio State, change the culture, change the direction of Penn State. Same result. I mean, you get down to the red zone twice, no points. End up losing the game. Defense spotted you points, same result. At the end of the day, James Franklin cannot beat Ohio State. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's about. The aura of Ryan Day in Ohio State. It was a great atmosphere. It should have been a night game, a true whiteout, but it wasn't. But yeah, Penn State cannot find a way to beat Ohio State. They lose this game 20-13. Ohio State, there's one thing I'll say about Ohio State. Very, very solid defense. Their defense is really good and really legit. Not sold on Will Howard. Not sold on Will Howard one bit. I mean, He had some costly turnovers. He threw the pick six earlier in the game. He fumbled in the red zone, which honestly spotted Penn State points. This game really should have been like 28-3, 28-6 type of game. Obviously, you go back to the Oregon game, sliding in, running out time on the clock. Ohio State has a really good defense. I'm just not sold on the quarterback, Will Howard. When we start getting to these playoff discussions and playoff topics with Ohio State, like we already seen him versus Dylan Gabriel. Like, is he good enough to go up against a Cam Ward? Obviously, the defense might win that game because Miami can't play defense. All right, but from a talent level, like, is he good to go up against these type of quarterbacks? I don't know. It's something that we're gonna have to wait and see as it pans out. Yeah, it's just something we're gonna have to wait and see, how things pan out. I thought Chip Kelly called a really good game. He really diced up Tom Allen, the defensive coordinator for Penn State. Penn State, a team that likes to do a lot of man coverage, and Chip kind of exposed that. There's one play that particularly sticks out. You got trips to the left, running back to that side of the trip, so theoretical terms would be gun near trips, right? They saw us man coverage. They shifted back over. Now it's gun far trips, back is away from the trips. They know they're a man, and what they do, they run speed option. Leverage game, numbers game. Chip knows that. He's one of the best one of the best coaches all in college football. And, he coached, he diced them up a little bit. A lot of the play calling, the run game between Henderson and Junkins, they were getting like 4 or 5 a pop. O-line, even with a shaky O-line, Chip Kelly found a way. And that's something that Penn State didn't do. They didn't find a way to take advantage of the deficiencies that Ohio State had, which makes it even more frustrating if you're a Penn State fan. Matter of fact, if you're a Penn State fan, join the locker room, drop in the chat. How are we feeling? What do we think? Where does Penn State go from here? All right. When you look at rosters and start comparing, everyone knows that Penn State lacks that outside threat or the big play ability at the receiver position. They got 2 great running backs. We all know that. But when your best offensive passing threat down the field is a tight end named Tyler Warren, who's very good, very versatile. He's going to be a great NFL prospect, I think. Because he has that quarterback. He has that quarterback background. He's played baseball, played basketball. He's very athletic for what he does. But Penn State cannot get any production, any big play production, any big time production from the outside. It is what it is. I don't think a receiver or a tight end had a catch until the second half. Like how are you supposed to beat a team when you can't get any production from your playmaker? So we all know James Franklin, at least over the years, has shown that that's a position. He hasn't been great at recruiting. Obviously, you got your Jahan Dotsons, you got your Chris Godwins, you got receivers every once in a while that come around to go to Penn State, but hasn't been that consistency there, and that's where Penn State is lacking in terms of being able to compete with people like Ohio State. But hey, it's a transfer portal era now. Go buy your receiver. Go do whatever you have to do to get offensive weapons. So, Penn State fans, talk to me. Where do we go from here? You guys are still probably going to end up making the playoffs. All you're going to have to do is win out. You're going to be a one-loss team. That one-loss team is probably going to come from a Big Ten champion or runner-up. Let me know where you guys go from here, because it just seems like this is the one game James Franklin just can't get. Can't get. I don't know why. But Ohio State gets the win, 20-13 over Penn State. And, they do their thing. All right. Next game I want to dive into is Miami. Oh. Miami is going to catch an L at the wrong time in the season. Miami is going, I'll repeat that. Miami is going to lose a game. They're not going undefeated. They're going to lose a game at the wrong time in the season. What do I mean by that? It's either going to be the ACC championship game. It's either going to be, they're hosting a playoff game. They're going to lose at home. Miami's not a team that's not there yet. All right. They can't play defense for nothing. Where's the Miami defense? All right. You look at the games that they just played, 1-point game versus Cal, end up winning 39-38. The Virginia Tech game, it was, again, another comeback game that the offense had to score. You think of that Louisville game where in the third quarter at one point there was an even ball game before eventually, taking advantage and blowing them out. You look at this Duke game. Duke was winning 21-7 at one point. All right. Miami, great offense. They could put up some numbers, but and Cam Ward, he threw for like 405 touchdowns and like an interception in this game. Great. All right. Where the hell is the defense? We're talking about a team that it's hard to say team in college because teams just rotate so much, but we're talking about a historic collegiate organization, however you want to call it, that has had defensive players. I'm talking about your Ray Lewis, your Ed Reed, your Jonathan Vilmas, your Sean Taylors. Like, this is like defensive players come from the U. Jalen Phillips, just most recently, defensive players come from the U, but they seem like they don't have any defensive guys that's going to be able to step up and play at that elite level that they need. Right. Their best run right now, I hate to say it as a Florida fan, it looks like it's against Florida. The way Florida has played and gotten better, obviously they're dealing with some injuries, but looking at that one, they're looking at some others and how they struggle along the way. Like, there's going to be one team that figures the U out. I thought it was going to be Duke this weekend. I actually picked them plus 20, and they should have covered. But Miami just they went crazy in that fourth quarter. But if you're somebody that's from the U, somebody from Miami, somebody that roots for the Hurricanes, drop a comment in this Falcons locker room. Like, where's the defense? With great offense, Cam Ward's probably going to be winner of the Heisman or second place of the Heisman. But where's your defense, right? If you're a fan of the U, how do you feel about the U in their position currently, possibly going to get one of those top seeds in the playoffs in a playoff game right now? Are you confident, right? Right? Because I'll tell you what, I'm not even comfortable saying you might be better than SMU. I believe you could beat Clemson. I don't know if you could beat SMU with the speed and the talent that they got offensively too. Like that's gonna be that's the wrong team to get into a track meet with, all right, especially in the ACC. But it looks like that's what it might come down to. So the U ends up beating Duke 53-31, but this game was a lot closer than what that score presents. So again, if you're from Miami or if you're just having the pain on this game, drop a comment in the locker room. All right, drop a comment below. All right, where is the defense? How do you feel about this Miami team going into the playoffs? Where would you rank them going into the playoffs? All right, do they get out their first round? I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. All right. Next thing, let's talk about the locker room. What we got? Ooh. As a Florida fan, this one hits. This one hits, but you know what? I'm happy for Florida. I'm not happy we lost. Happy for Florida. Billy might have saved his job, right? Billy might have saved his job. And now, again, I was one of the people that were saying, like, you know, who might be the next coach to replace him. There's still some rumors out there, but I think Billy is saving his job. So even in a loss, this game excited. This game excited me, you know, because the team is not quitting on Billy Napier. The team is playing hard for Billy Napier. They're competitive in these last couple of games. They're about to go through their hardest stretch of the schedule. I believe they have Texas next week. Texas coming off a bye. This team is playing hard week in, week out, and they're playing a lot of young guys. They're playing a lot of young guys. For me, it's about next year. It's not about this year. It's about next year. You got a young team getting experience. Make sure you recruit those guys to stay. You got DJ Lagway, unfortunately, got hurt his hamstring. Who knows how long he's out for? You had Aiden Warner come in to play quarterback, our third string quarterback. But it's about next year. It is about next year because we're going to have an experienced quarterback. We're going to have experienced young guys. We're going to be a young team. You just get some beef on that offensive line, spend a little money in that transfer portal, bada bang, bada boom. Florida, we back. Georgia, on the other hand, I'm not saying it's just because I'm a Florida fan, but Georgia is not who you think they are. Georgia is not who you think they are. Georgia, I'm telling you, Georgia is not who you think they are. That win versus Texas is fraudulent. I think Georgia is fraudulent. Like Carson Beck, not great through 3 picks. He's not really seeing the field. He same against Texas. He threw a couple picks in that game too, right? Georgia might lose to Tennessee, honestly, at this rate. They can't run the ball. Travis Etienne or Trevor Etienne, whoever the younger brother is, former Gator, I don't really care anymore, got hurt. Your top running back. The defense, they're young on the back end, so they've been getting exposed in the passing game. They almost lost to a freshman, third-string quarterback for Florida, in Aiden Warner. I'm telling you right now, Georgia is a fraudulent team. All right. And again, will they make it to the SEC championship? Probably, because Texas A&M fell for the trap, right? So it's looking like another possible Texas-Georgia rematch. We'll see. But again, I think Georgia at this rate might lose to Tennessee. All right. Don't get me wrong. We're still way better than Miami. All right. We just talked about the Miami situation. Still way better than Miami. But Georgia is a fraudulent team. Be careful. Be careful when you're picking Georgia in your parlays or saying Georgia is the best team in the SEC. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Georgia doesn't beat Oregon right now. Hell no. All right, let's go to the next game. Let's talk about Clemson. Let's talk about another fraudulent team in Clemson. Right? First of all, Louisville, great win right here, right? You pull off the dub 33-21 at Clemson, Death Valley, right? And you get the upset. Clemson hasn't played a team with a winning record since week 1 versus Georgia. The best team that they played coming into week 10 was Virginia, who was 4-4. All these blowouts, yeah, they look good on paper, but Clemson is another fraudulent team. And this hurts Clemson because now you're not even in the ACC championship. Right now we're looking at a Miami SMU ACC championship, which means you might not even make the playoffs. Right? And because right now, let's just say Clemson and Miami meet in the ACC championship. loser probably has a chance, right? Based on schedule and all that stuff. But if we get a SMU Miami ACC championship, I don't think SMU is going to make the playoffs unless they win the ACC. But even if that happens, Miami's got to get in before Clemson does. So Clemson, another fraudulent team. Shout out to the Ville. Hey, Clemson fans, how are we feeling right now? You guys need some transfers? You guys need to dive into that transfer portal? I know you won't, but talk to me. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Let's talk about it. All right? This is the locker room. This is space for it. Let's talk about it. All right. But Clemson, Georgia, another fraudulent team. Another fraudulent team. Who else we got up here? A&M fell for the trap. A&M fell for the trap. They go to Columbia and they fell for the trap. Hey, listen, Aggies lose 20-44 from the Gamecocks in South Carolina. But let me tell you this: South Carolina is probably like 4 or 5 plays away from being the best team in the SEC. This is not a fraudulent South Carolina team. This is a very, very good South Carolina team. And unless some things happen, they may not get their chance to get to SEC championship or even get a chance for a playoff spot. But this is a team that should have beat Bama, should have beat LSU, and obviously they beat A&M. A&M coming off a big win the week before versus LSU, right? Ranked in the top 10. We'll see tomorrow, Tuesday, when this comes out, where the committee ranks A&M, right? Right. But they fell for the trap. And the one thing that stood out in this game is that South Carolina way more physical than A&M, especially in the run game. I don't think a team recorded a sack till like the third quarter. And it was actually South Carolina getting the sack on Marcel Reed, the freshman redshirt quarterback for A&M. A&M dealing with some injuries. I know the running back got hurt, but South Carolina might be the best kept secret in the SEC that no one really knows about. No one really knows about. Honestly, South Carolina's got to beat Clemson. And this is going to be done for Clemson's playoff hopes. Like, Clemson's still alive, but Clemson's not beating South Carolina right now. South Carolina looks dangerous. Fast wide receiver, redshirt freshman quarterback. You know, Dylan Stewart, freshman DN, who is balling out of his mind right now. Man, great win for South Carolina, beating the Aggies. Aggies, talk to me. How we feeling? All right? Because now you're kind of in LSU territory when it comes to your playoff hopes. What do I mean by that? LSU's playing Alabama this week, and it's essentially a playoff game because the loser with 3 losses is not making it to the playoffs. You're in that same boat now, right? Because now the game you got to look forward to is Texas at the end of the season. You could beat Texas. You could save your playoff dreams. If you lose, it's over. It's night-night. It's night-night. All right? So that game versus Texas is going to mean something now. So, Aggies, talk to me. How we feeling? All right, Marcel Reed, how we feeling about the quarterback switch up? I like him. I think he's still better than Connor Wegman. But drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. All right. Like I said, it was a great week of college football, and we got some fabulous games. We just broke down some of the games that some of the reactions from the games we had this past weekend. Now I want to give you 3 teams that won the weekend. 3 teams that won the weekend. First, Oregon. They look good, man. They're looking good every single week. At first, I thought, maybe they were sleeping in the beginning of the season, wanted to get to Ohio State, got that win, has looked better each game since. Didn't let down like A&M did. They could have let down versus Purdue, but they didn't. They beat Purdue. They beat Illinois. They just beat Michigan. Oregon looks good. Oregon looks like a true number 1 team. They won the weekend. Who else won the weekend? Indiana. Indiana won the weekend. Penn State losing is great for Indiana, right? Because now they went out. They're in the Big Ten championship, right? And by saying they went out, that means they would have beaten Ohio State. And they would have beaten Ohio State. That makes things interesting for other reasons, because then Ohio State 2 losses in conference. Penn State only has 1 loss if we're assuming they're going to win out. That makes things a little tricky. because then you talk about maybe putting 4 teams in the playoffs. I don't know. But Indiana won the weekend because now they have a clear shot towards the Big Ten championship. They control their own destiny. If you get past Ohio State, your money. Curtis Rourke came back, played big, beat Michigan State. They had a great, I think they went on 47-0 run. Good for Indiana. All right. Lastly, the team that won the weekend. Funny things happened in the Big 12. There are some funny things that happened in the Big 12. The team that was on a bye won the weekend, and that's Colorado. I know you guys are probably sick of Colorado, but let's talk about it. Colorado coming into the week, sitting at a 3 or 4 spot behind Kansas State. Small chances, I think it was at 7% to make the playoffs. Little do you know. Kansas State loses to Houston. 2 losses in the Big 12. Iowa State loses to Texas Tech. Hold up. Kansas State loses to Houston. Iowa State loses to Texas Tech. Here comes Colorado. Here comes Colorado sitting at 4-1 with Iowa State for second place in the Big Ten. Excuse me, I'm saying Big Ten. Big 12. Second place in the Big 12. Right behind BYU. This makes this week's game versus Texas Tech their biggest game since Deion Sanders has been there. This week versus Texas Tech is the biggest game since the primetime era in Colorado football history. You have to beat Texas Tech to get ahead of Iowa State. You get 2 losses, it's over. I don't necessarily see it coming back because then you're back in tiebreaker mode with Kansas State. No, boy, no. You don't want to do that. You beat Texas Tech, and it's there. It's there. That Big 12 championship game is there. You get to the Big 12 championship game. Playoff hopes get real. Can you imagine Colorado, second year with Coach Prime, in the playoffs after expanding in the first year of expansion to 12 teams? Must-see TV. Must-see TV. Being that the Gators have a down year, I am a bandwagon Colorado fan, and I am not afraid to admit it. But I'm going to say it one more time. This week versus Texas Tech is the biggest game in Colorado football history in the primetime era with so much on the line. You've had your test earlier in the year. Nebraska was a test. You failed. Kansas State was a test. You failed. You almost lost to Baylor. You can't lose to Texas Tech. Third time's the charm. Third time's the charm. You need to win this game. You need to win this game and then, take care of the rest. All right? Thank you all for tuning in. Again, like, share, subscribe to the locker room, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. Let's talk ball. Let's talk ball.